In a world where MEP parts are piling high and deadlines are fast approaching, one hero rises above all. It's sure as shit not me.
What's up, dudes? It's Bloodhush, and I am so excited because I am finally answering questions. I think I've done like 3 of these already on my channel since I've started Animash and editing in general. I've done like 3 separate Q&As, and I have never finished one. But that is changing. That is changing today. It is 2024, and new year, new me, bitch. Okay, I guess that's it. Let's jump right in. Okay, so the first question is from Tay Luna X26, and they're so brave for this. They asked me a single question. They asked me every Taylor Swift song and or album I know or have listened to. You know what? I have a secret. All right? It's kind of deep, and I'm sorry I'm about to drop such a heavy load on my Animash Q&A, but I think it needs to be said. And the truth is, I do not care about Taylor Swift at all. At all. I'm sorry, okay? There are a couple of songs of hers that I think are okay, like Tolerated and All Too Well, like the really big one, the 10-minute one. I think it's All Too Well. I'm pretty sure. But it's not even like the music itself. It's more or less because there was like a video or a MEP with those songs that I really liked, and honestly, like, I think I would prefer them if they were sang by somebody else. So there you go. There's your answer. I'm sorry I've disappointed. The next set of questions is from S Crowley 293. Okay, so question 1 is, what is my favorite Brother Bear scene and why? Oh my god! When Kenai turns for the first time, like right in the beginning of the movie, that scene where he, like, that twist in the air and he goes from man to bear lives rent free in my head, buying curtains. Mwah, cinematic masterpiece right there. Question 2 is, how did I choose my personas and why? And they said that it didn't just have to be Animash and that any kind of media is fine. But if I'm being honest, I think I just have Animash personas. Like, when I'm using different medias and I'm using a specific character to represent myself, a lot of times it is because of an identity thing. So yeah, no, I think it's just Animash. But for Animash, I have Kenai, and then I use Patch/Perdita, Nuka, and Jenna interchangeably. Kenai I started using a couple of years ago, and I can't remember the exact reason now, but I think it's because Brother Bear is just one of my favorite movies, and I'm not talking just Animash in general. I mean, like, just in general. I think that the story is really compelling. I love the animation, and I love how much of Kenai there is to use. Like, there are so many different scenes because he's the main character that I feel like I'm never going to run out of ideas. And if I want to have Kenai as a child, I can just use Coda. So, I mean, that's just like a plus. For Nuka, he was my first Animash persona. He was the character I started with when I first started editing Animash. And I think I picked him because at the time, there was a specific editor, and they were relatively popular, who used Vitani as a persona, and that was the first one that I wanted. So I wanted to pick a persona that not anybody had used before. So I ended up just going with Vitani's brother Nuka, and I didn't even think it was going to be like, like something I cared about too much. I thought it would be like a temporary thing, and then maybe I could find a persona that I actually liked and then switched over. But I ended up really liking Nuka. He holds like such a special place in my heart, even though he has like 3 scenes. I don't know what I was on to make all of those Simba and Nuka videos when I was younger, but like, I wish I had that energy now. For Patch, I think I started using Patch. It's really silly, but at the time, I had a friend who was using Patch first, but they had started to diverge a little bit away from Patch and started using another character. So I asked permission if I could use Patch. And I know that sounds like silly now because it's 2023 and Animash is a relatively larger community and there are a lot of people who have the same personas. But back then, seeing somebody with your persona kind of felt like a personal thing, especially if you were in the same friend group, you know? So I don't know, it felt weird. So I asked permission if I could use Patch, and then obviously he said yes, and I ended up started using him. And with Perdita, it's basically just adult Patch. And if you look, when I use Patch, usually I color correct the collar so that it's blue, so that it matches Perdita. And for Jenna, I think I just started using her because I thought she was pretty. And that's it. That's it. And you know what? I don't need another reason. So question 3 is, what are my main kins? And this is like a little convoluted for me to answer because I used to categorize my identities into things like primary and secondary and, you know, like things like that. But I feel like also having dissociative identity disorder throws a different perspective on it because we used to hide who the alters were versus who were our kins or identities. So it really depends on who you're asking because we've recently discovered that certain alters also have kins of our own. We used to think that most of the kins or the identities were just a part of the body in general, but no, it is linked to some of the fictives in here as well. So yeah, it's really convoluted, and this probably wasn't the answer you were looking for, but if you're gonna ask somebody specifically, then I could probably give you a better answer. Question 4 is, what is my favorite video I've ever made? And I think it's probably the first video I made in like 2021. I made it as like a joke, as like a shit post. And it's actually still one of my favorite videos because I put so much energy into bullshit. Like when it comes to real edits and things like that, I feel like I always get lazy, but when I'm trying to do a shit post, it's like you expect to be lazy. So because you're expecting that you're going to be lazy, putting all of that effort feels like a lot more of an accomplishment. And so we have my favorite video I've ever made right there. So question 5 is, what is my favorite song? And I don't really have a favorite song. My music taste is like kind of all over the place. So in my brain, I categorize it by favorite songs in a specific genre or playlist. But yeah, depending on the genre or the playlist that you see and you ask, that then I would be able to give a better answer. Question 6 is, what are my favorite Animash ships? And I've got to go with Nuka and Simba, Kenai and Feline, and Big Mama and Sarabi. Question 7 is, what is my favorite drawing I've ever made? It's going to be one that I made this year. It is a photo of my OC Bramblefawn, and she's like in a cave, and like she's kind of like looking back at the camera, and it's got like all of this nice smoke and everything. I really like how it came out, and it's probably, I think it was my first real attempt at a background. And I really liked how it came out. So yeah, definitely that one. The next one is from Laura Giunta. I don't know if I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't say that right, but I did my best. The only thing they asked is who my Animash persona is, and it's Kenai. Alright, so now we've actually got a set of questions, and I believe you pronounce the name as Bloomadine. I apologize if I'm not saying these names correctly. Pronunciation is like not my strong suit at all. But anyway, the first question is my favorite Animash media to edit with and why. I don't know if these count as Animash, but they're talking animals, so I'm saying yes. I've got to go with Beastars, and there is a Disney animated short. It's called Far From the Tree, and it follows like a baby raccoon and its mom, and I don't know, man. I really like the character. I think he's really funky, and I would like to actually take him on as a persona. So, yeah, probably those two. Next question is my favorite edit of mine that I made in 2023. And since they included mech parts, that's actually what I'm going to be going with. The first one I thought of was a part for a mech called Blinding by Hallelujah. It was really experimental for me, and I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but I really do. And the other one that I'm thinking of is a part for Wait for Me. It's a Hamilton song. I really like the storytelling that I did in that one. The next question is my favorite pairing from each type of media that I edit with, whether it be like Animash or cartoons or live action, and why. And depending on which ship I'm talking about, it's a different reason. But for Animash, it's gonna be Nuka and Simba. For cartoons, it's gonna be Sasha, Ann, and Marcy from Amphibia, Luce and Amity from The Owl House, and Raya and Namari from Raya and the Last Dragon. For live action, it's going to be Sabia and Jiang from Squid Games, Clove and Katniss from The Hunger Games, Grace and Zoe from Degrassi, Jade and Kat from Victorious, and Wednesday and Enid from Wednesday. Their next question is if I've discovered any new song artists within the first days of this new year. And no, I actually haven't, but I did discover a lot of new artists last year. I guess for this, their notable mentions are going to be Iniko, Pink Pantheress, Yonica, and Coast God. Their last question is going to be my favorite OC of mine and why. And I actually have to go with my OC Raven Hollow. She's the protagonist of this story that I've been working on for the last couple of years. She's very near and dear to me. She's just like, she is everything I wish I could be. My next set of questions is from Pillowbug, and their first question is, what are my favorite animals and why? I don't really have favorite animals. I think I kind of categorize them by season. Like certain seasons, I will gravitate towards certain animals more than I would others. Like right now, I'm just fixated on Oriental cats, but who knows? That could change pretty quickly. Their next question is any Animash goals for this year? Yes, learn text. Learn text? Find text you like. Learn how to like it. Next question is what's one thing I like about my editing style and one thing that I would like to change? I really enjoy Twixter. I think that's a given considering if you're watching my stuff regularly and like you see me in a lot of different maps. I use a lot of Twixter, and I am constantly looking for ways to improve it, and Twixter scenes that would normally be hard to do. Like, I managed to do that one scene of Kenai spinning in the air. I figured if I could do that, then, like, I could do pretty much anything. And one thing I would like to change is text. All of it. I want it gone. I wish we never had to do it. I hate it, but it's important, and I need to learn how to not hate it. Their last question is one place I would like to travel to the most, and the first things that came to mind were South Korea and anywhere that I could see the Aurora Borealis in real life. The next set of questions is from Reverie, and the first one is what is my favorite video game at the moment? I don't really have a favorite at the moment. Like, I've been itching to replay the Horizon series. But as of right now, I'm currently playing Lies of P, and it's challenging. It takes a lot of inspiration from Bloodborne, which is a game that I did enjoy, but I never got to finish due to its difficulty. But I don't know, this feels like it kind of like tones it down a little bit. So I think I'm actually going to be able to finish this one, and I'm excited to see like how this plays out because the storyline is interesting. Her next question is, what is my favorite Warrior Cats project of Jay Feather and my favorite design of him? I have to go with the Wisest Dinos number 99, Just As I Am. It hits something different for me. Like, our own Jay Feather says that that is pretty much the closest representation of what the powers felt like. So, I don't know. I guess it's just like a personal thing. And my favorite design of him has to be from Sats Art. They post an annual Jay Feather picture, and they've been doing this for the last couple of years. And this year they did Jay Feather as a kit, And I don't, it's really nice. It's pretty much the closest representation of what I look like. It's not spot on. I do need to make my my actual J Feather design still, but yeah, that's the closest. And then she wants to know more about my OC Bramblefawn, which is really exciting because I love her so much. She's so exciting. Um, so Bramblefawn is a character I actually voice act, and I didn't make the design myself. It was made by Moon Kitty, who does a bunch of Warrior Cats videos. It was a Patreon reward. So basically, what happens is in her Patreon server, you send unsolicited voice clips, and then she puts them together, and then she makes like Warrior Cats videos out of them, where like she made her own clan and everything like that. It's called Stone Clan, and you don't know who you are or what you look like until that video drops. And so when I got her, I was really excited because I like immediately fell in love with that design. So when I heard her and I heard that it was me, I was so excited. And the really fun part is that when Moon makes the character in like the basic family tree, you are the one who can fill in the blanks. You're the one who creates the backstory. So the backstory that I gave for Bramblefawn was that she was an orphan kit. She had 2 litter mates, their names were Fire Kit and Birch Kit, but they were stillborn, and her mother Pool Jump unfortunately died giving birth. Her father Field Step died in a skirmish with the neighboring clan, Stick Clan. So she really didn't have anybody, but she did have on her father's side a brother, a half-brother named Meadowclaw. And he was much older, but he decided to take her in and raise her like his own. And for a very short time, she did look up to Meadowclaw as like a parent and a guardian, and she loved him a lot. But as time went on, she kind of grew to resent him because like he had a really high status in the clan, and he was always really humble, and he worked very hard for everything that he had. But Bramblefawn was kind of doted on by not only him, but the whole clan. She was very, very spoiled. She made up a narrative in her head that he only cared about her to improve his own reputation, and like once she became an apprentice, she abandoned him and she refused all care and love that he offered her. Around the ending of her apprenticeship, she met Mercury, and Mercury is an existing character named Sunpool's older sister. And like Mercury basically just swept Bramblefawn off of her feet. She was like completely enamored with her. Bramble would constantly sneak out of camp and like ignore all of her duties just to go spend time with her. And Mercury would shower her with affection and attention for her own merits, and that's what Bramblefawn wanted this entire time. But Mercury was also very conniving and manipulative, and anybody who she saw as a threat to her own powerful status, she wanted to get rid of. So that could go from anywhere from fellow kitty pets to Stick Clan, which was the neighboring clan to Stone Clan. So Mercury would lead raids on these cats, and Bramblefawn was basically the muscle, and she would attack without hesitation at Mercury's discretion. And the two came up with a fantasy that one day Bramblefawn would leave Clan Life behind and that she would become a kitty pet and stay with Mercury. Now, Bramblefawn never hid her relationship with Mercury to her clan, and it wasn't doing her any favors. There were a lot of rumors going around, and eventually Sunpool did catch wind of it. So Sunpool tried to confront Bramblefawn and tell her what Mercury was really like. Unfortunately for Sunpool, Mercury had already fed a different story to Bramblefawn. You see, Mercury had told Bramblefawn that Sunpool was the instigator and was the one who was manipulative and basically caused all of her own hardships. And it was this false narrative as to why Sunpool had left Two Leg Place to join Stone Clan. So Bramblefawn didn't believe a word that Sunpool had said, and she was really mean about it. And after that confrontation, in the middle of the night, she goes and she flees back to Two Leg Place, and she's calling for Mercury, and Mercury shows up at the top of the Two Leg fence, and Bramblefawn finally says that she's ready to just abandon clan life, and that they could live together like they had always planned. And then that's when Mercury began to laugh at her, and all of her friends showed up at the top of the fence and started to laugh at Bramblefawn too. And Mercury revealed that she never cared and that she was using her as muscle and to keep tabs on her sister, and that she was really stupid for believing any of it. And Bramblefawn was completely humiliated, so she ends up running away. Like, she can't go back to her clan after what she just did, and now she can't go to Two Leg Place, so she just keeps running. Like, she runs until she collapses. The next morning, she's rescued by a vagabond, who is now Icebrook in the clan, but at the time he was a loner. And He and her traveled for a while, and Bramblefawn had just taken the name Fawn. And the two traveled together until homesickness was what pulled Bramblefawn out of her stupor and back to StoneClan, and Iceberg went with her. When she came back, she mended a few relationships, and she grew close to quite a few of her clanmates, especially one named Tiger Pounce, who, out of canon, is basically her main. And everything seemed to be going well for a while, but then the Whisker Domain came. The Whisker Domain is a group of nomadic kitty pets, and they're led by a cat named Tulip. Tulip, or at the name her name was Tulip Cloud, was the one who had led the original raid on Stickland, which caused a lot of their parents' deaths, including Brimblefawn's father. The Whisker Domain wants Stickland's land because they're weak and suffering and hungry, and it's basically free real estate. And while most cats are siding with Stickland, Bramblefawn actually sides with the Whisker Domain. And she's really pissed. She basically runs out of the gathering and she joins them immediately. And Tiger Pounce, as well as a couple of other StoneClan cats, join as well. You see, Bramblefawn thinks that this is a lesser of two evils, so she's willing to destroy a clan to do that. It's kind of like a necessary evil, is how she's trying to justify it. And it's so fun because it's I know that she's wrong, but trying to justify it is so exciting to me. Because I wasn't the one who put her in the Whisker Domain. Moon was the one who put her in there. And now that I have to come up with this reason, it's really exciting. But there is a twist. One of the kitty pets who is there is Mercury. So, womp womp. We're gonna see how that goes. The next set of questions is from Cat BFs, aka Catphobos. The first question is my favorite movie and series that I've watched this year. I would have to say that my favorite movie was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and my favorite TV series was Bluey. Okay, the next one is she wants me to show my pets and to talk about them, which I have no problem doing because they are my babies and I would love to do that. But just as a heads up, I am going to be talking about how I got them, and it is a story that includes animal neglect and abuse. So if those are topics that trigger you, I am going to put a time skip or when you should skip so that so that you don't have to listen to that. Okay, so I have two cats. Their names are Harper and Bunny, and we have had them since late October of, I believe it was 2022, and they were only a couple of months old, so they were really young. So right now I think they're maybe a year and a half-ish, something like that. And they are rescues. The situation that they were in, I am not entirely clear on. It was either, I believe, a hoarding situation or a couple of people who were feeding a cat colony who weren't practicing TNR. It was something like that, but I don't know the exact specifics of the situation, but I do know the conditions that they were living in, and they were definitely not ideal. I'm talking, there were dozens and dozens of cats going in and out of the house, and they were free roaming. They didn't have food bowls. The people would throw food on the floor and it'd be a free-for-all. There was no litter boxes. It was just a really bad situation. And I'm not sure if I have any photos where you can see it clearly, but Bunny's tail is actually broken, and we brought it up to the vet before, and he hasn't seen it as a concern because, I mean, she had it for so long that it kind of healed that way, and cats are really adaptable, so he saw no reason to try and correct the problem. But we have speculated that it looked like it had either been stepped on or had a door closed on it. It's nice because despite whatever they went through, they are both still very sweet. Their most discernible personality traits is that Bunny talks a lot and she sits really stupid, and Harper talks back when you tell him no. Her next question is if I have any place I would love to live in the future, and I think I love New Jersey too much. I was born in New Jersey, and I've lived here for the majority of my life, and I did live in South Carolina for a couple of years, but it was a culture shock, and it was something that really wasn't for me. And if I'm being honest, I think that living somewhere else for a few years really gave me a newfound appreciation for New Jersey. And so I gotta go with no. I can't imagine living anywhere else, and I don't think I want to. And her last question is if I have any fun events or activities that I would like to do this year. Yes, actually, I already have one concert planned for the ending of March, which I'm very excited for. So I think anything along those lines, really, going out to more concerts or clubs, as well as playing a bunch of new video games. Also, I don't really know if this counts as an activity, but I am starting to take voice acting more seriously, and it's something that I really do enjoy doing. So, if I can do anything regarding that, I think that would qualify as something fun for me. The next question is from my friend Pine Dude, and he wants to know how I got the name Blood Hush, and it's because I'm emo. I had Hellbent before this, and I don't know, I just really gravitate towards like the darker, macabre kind of name, so I think I just like made it up. I don't think there's really any special reason, but now it feels like my handle. The next set of questions is from Obsidian House, and the first one is my favorite celebrity right now. And I don't really follow celebrities closely, but one that I always end up coming back to is Nakuse Dana. She was the girl who played Grace in Degrassi, and she's like a really big activist. And I love all of her work. She plays the bass guitar. She makes a whole bunch of things like bags and everything that she sells now. She's just really down to earth and really humble, and I like her a lot. The next question is, what is my editing process like for crossovers? And when I don't have anything due, like any kind of MEP part, or I'm not currently working on a video, I make man-ups mostly for fun, and I usually use them in the future because they do take a lot of work. So as I'm sorting through all of my man-ups, that's kind of how the idea goes. The plot kind of comes as I'm putting everything together and finding ways that I can like fill in the blanks as I'm working on the video. So yeah, I've got to go the man-ups. The man-ups are first. And the last question is describing my ideal night in or night out. Now, my night out can really be anything as long as I'm with my friends, but my night in is what I usually do now, which is hang out with my girlfriend and my cats, and I just play video games and I read and I edit, and voice acting is now a big part of my nights in now. So I'm practicing, or I'm like reading through dialogues, or I'm sending in submissions, so things like that. Next set of questions is from They'll See, and the first one is asking me to show off some of my Warrior Cats OCs. And fun fact, whenever I join a new Warrior Cats roleplay, I always end up making a new character. I don't like reusing characters, so I have a lot. Thinking of my Warrior Cats OCs that isn't Ravenhollow, because I did talk about her briefly. The first one that I thought of was Hexmoon. And a little bit of backstory on him is that he was a medicine cat, but at his apprenticeship ceremony, like when he's getting his full medicine cat name, he drowns at the moon pool. And StarClan saves him, but it kind of makes a weird rift, like he has a paw in life and death. So a headcanon that I have for StarClan is that they can speak almost through like echolocation or like telepathy, like through vast distances. So when he wakes up, he can hear them, but he doesn't really know how to turn it off. And because he's also living, it's kind of really skewed. So I put it so he hears them in the form of like singing, like a choir, rather than actually hearing what they're able to say. So he can understand like the tone of what it is. He can try to discern it, like he can hear if it's a little bit more urgent or if it's a bit more mellow, but no, he can't actually figure out what they're trying to say. So his entire life, he's basically going through trying to appease StarClan, because in the roleplay that they're in, 3 of the 4 clans were destroyed, and the clan that he's in right now is the only one still left standing. So he's thinking, well, StarClan already destroyed 3 of them, what's stopping them from destroying the 4th one? And he pretty much puts it in his head that he is the only one who is able to stop them because he's able to hear them, but he's pretty much batshit crazy. He goes from prey sacrifices to cat sacrifices. The first one was an accident. He tried to baptize a cat who had been exiled from the clan, so he was basically trying to cleanse them of their sins, but he ends up drowning them. But he's taking the loud, the urgent voices of StarClan, which were really trying to tell him to stop. He takes that as, this is what I am supposed to be doing. I need to cleanse the clan of all of their sins. And eventually he finds out that the deputy had some sins that they were trying to hide as well. So things like this hadn't really been done before in Warrior Cats, so trying to create like the poultices and the remedies and things like that was very fun. So what I had done is that he slipped poppy seeds into the deputy's food, so that when the deputy passed out, he then put poppy seeds that were coated in honey up the deputy's nose, so it basically worked as like a knockout gas. And Hexmoon had also discerned that perhaps StarClan wasn't able to reach him and his sacrifices because he was so far to the ground. So he goes to like the top of the mountain. He drags the deputy to the top of the mountain and he's preparing the sacrifice there. The deputy's mate and apprentice end up showing up and they're like begging him to stop, but like they're not doing anything because Hexmoon has the deputy basically by the throat. So they're not going to actually attack him. But Hexmoon goes on like this big spiel, and as he's about to sacrifice them, a bolt of lightning comes down and Hexmoon drops dead. And when they look at his body, it was like nothing had happened. And while the deputy did gain a scar from the encounter, from the lightning, Hexmoon gains the scar in the afterlife, and that's where he has the scar. See, the lightning bolt was sent from StarClan, and Hexmoon was correct in the assumption that StarClan wasn't able to reach him from so far down below, but it wasn't because of the sacrifices. It was because they were trying to get him to stop. The way that StarClan was kind of seeing it was that they brought him into the world, so they were going to take him out of it. And in the afterlife, they are ashamed of him and they send him away, and Hexmoon is furious because everything that he had done, he thought he had been doing for them. So in the afterlife, that connection, that telepathic or echolocation, whatever it was, that connection with StarClan, it's gone. He finally has peace. And it takes a long time in the role play, but eventually he realizes that he hadn't been a good medicine cat. He had been ignoring his duties, and he was putting cats in harm's way. So he chooses to spend the rest of eternity watching over the clan and like protecting them from otherworldly forces that he can now detect because he's dead. So yeah, he basically just spends the afterlife in a self-inflicted purgatory, choosing to watch over the clan. And I think that was a really satisfying way to end his arc, because he didn't, at the end of the day, he didn't need StarClan, you know? Hexmoon is a character who has like a full arc. There are also characters that are in my story with Ravenhollow, and some of the notable mentions are Verminstar, Ickerdrop, Ambrosia Lion, who was the leader before Verminstar, and Flickerfall. And I know I said that I don't like to reuse character, but Flickerfall is a reused character that I ended up recycling into my story, and she plays a pretty important role. But you know what? I'm gonna do what I want. Then in another roleplay, I have one of my favorite warrior designs that I made, and it is a pair of sisters, and their names are Phantom Fire and Pricklepod. Both of them are very fun. And yeah, I mean, like, I have more OCs, like, I could talk about them for ages, but I think that is a good place to stop. Her next question is who I play in or main in Overwatch, and I play pretty much all classes. Like, I've been playing this game since it came out in 2016. I don't think there's a character I haven't at least tried, but as for who I main, it is for DPS, it is Sombra and Ashe. For tank, it's Sigma and Malga. And for healer, it is Moira and Kiriko. And her last question is, what are some of my favorite video games and what upcoming games am I excited for? I think somebody asked me this question already, and at the time I said that I didn't have a favorite video game, but looking back on it, I think I do. I have a couple of games that I will go back to and I will replay just because I like them so much. And those would be Overwatch, the Horizon series, Vampire, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, especially because of Nimona. I think she's funky, and Ghost of Tsushima. As for upcoming games that I am excited for, I'd have to go with Little Kitty Big City. I am so excited for that game. Like, it's not even funny. And finally, my last set of questions are from Reptivey. I am sorry if I did not get to your questions. I have been editing this video for almost a week now, and at this point I don't even know how long this is, but I did my best. Okay, so her first question is my favorite Warrior Cats arc, and I actually have to go with the current running arc, A Starless Clan. I am super glad that they are giving a lot more personalities to a lot of more of the background characters who don't really do anything besides being, you know, stock warriors. I think some of my favorite characters have come out of this arc. And I am more interested in clan politics rather than like an overarching evil, like an overarching threat, like the Dark Forest and everything like that. I mean, yeah, it's good for action, but I want to know like what these cats are thinking. I want to know their relationships with one another and the everyday things, you know, like border disputes and things like that. I like how they are handling this arc, and I really like Frostpaw. I think that she is a dear. And Curlfeather. Curlfeather's fantastic. And Gull Swoop, don't get me started on Gull Swoop. Berryheart the mom. Fringe Whisker trying like desperately to prove herself to ShadowClan when there are a bunch of cats who still are just never gonna see her as an equal. Like, these are all really compelling things for me. And I am really excited to see where they take this arc. Her second question is my most anticipated movies of 2024. I'm sure that there are some movies that I am looking forward to that I probably have just forgotten about, and then like once I see like an announcement for it, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, like I remember, I was excited for this movie. But if I'm being honest, I'm not really the kind of person who keeps up with movies. I'm more interested in things like video games and things like that, and TV shows. Movies aren't necessarily my forte, so... And finally, her last question is if I collect anything and if there is a dream item I would like to get. I like the idea of collecting things, but I don't have much room. I think that the only thing I really like air quote collect are Funko Pops, and it's not even really a collection. It's just if I see a character that I'm ID with or a character that I just like. Even like the U2s, like I have one of the Lamb from Cult of the Lamb. Those are about the closest thing. I would like to get the Warrior Cats minis. I would like to get all of them. It's just a matter of they are very expensive and there are a lot of them. So as of right now, I have that on the back burner, but that is on my list of things that I would like to get. But as for like a dream item I would like, there is a company called Plushie Dreadfuls, and they make a bunch of plushies, which I personally really enjoy, and a lot of them revolve around disorders. So they have one for dissociative identity disorder. That is one thing I have wanted for like a year now, and I haven't bought it yet, but I really like that plushie. I would love to put it somewhere and like display it somewhere. I think the reason why I haven't got it yet is because I don't want it to get damaged or like dirty or anything like that. Like that feels like something I would want to keep in good condition. And with that, I am finally done with all of these questions. Thank you so much to everybody who asked me something. And again, I am sorry if I did not get to your questions, but this was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, definitely, but it was also really fun. So with that, I am going to end this video. Okay, thank you all so much for watching, and if you watch till the end, then you get a gold medal. So congratulations. Okay, bye.